Alright, I'm going to read the next chapter 10,000 Things. I read it about 3 weeks ago. I still remember the story, but back then I didn't read the previous chapters and understand that it's actually written in both daughter and mom's perspectives. And this made the story more interesting. 10,000 things. First, I told my daughter I no longer had the pain in my heart. The reason why I said she had to come right away. She still had a big worried look on her face. Maybe we should take you to the doctor anyway, just to make sure. I'm already sure, I said. Now I feel better. Now I don't have to pay a big doctor bill. Take your coat off. I still think we should go see a doctor. Eat some noodle soup first. See what I made? Same kind when you were a little girl. Lots of pickled turnip. What is that? A little pork just for taste. On cold days, you were so happy to eat it. I was hoping she would remember how soothing my soup made her feel. She took off her coat. She sat down to eat. But what did it feel like? Hold on, let me set up my tripod here. It's hard to keep both things on my hand. And also dollar. I have three objects. But what did it feel like? The pain, she said. One spoonful already going into her mouth. Too hot? I said. Not too hot, she said. Not hot enough? It's good, really. I gave her more. I watched her drink my soup and then I told her. It is the same pain I have had for many years. It comes from keeping everything inside, waiting until it is too late. I think my mother gave me this fault, the same kind of pain. She left me before she could tell me why she was leaving. I think she wanted to explain, but at the last moment, she could not. And so, even to this day, I still feel I'm waiting for her to come back and tell me why it was this way. I never told you about my mother? That she left me? Oh, that's because I never wanted to believe it myself. So maybe that's why I did not tell you about her. Of course, that does not mean I did not think about her. I loved her very much. In fact, when I was young, and for many years, I kept her hair, 3 feet long, curled up in a small tin box. I saved it for her all those years, thinking she would someday return. And I could give it back to her, like a gift. Later, when I believed she was dead, I still kept her hair. I thought I could someday find her body, and she and her hair could be reunited. That way, in the other world, she could loosen her hair, and once again, she could let all her thoughts run wild. That is how I remember her. In her room, untying her hair, letting it down. She let me touch her hair. What else? Of course, I did not remember everything about her. I was only 6 years old when she disappeared. But some things I can remember very clearly. The heaviness of her hair, the firmness of her hand when she had held mine, the way she could peel an apple all in one long curly piece so that it lay in my hand like a flat yellow snake. You remember? That's how I learned to do that for you. Other things from my memory are confusing. I saw a painting of her once. This was after she was gone, and I did not remember the mouth in that painting. So stiff, so firm. I did not remember those eyes. So sad, so lost. I did not recognize the woman in the painting as my mother, and yet I wanted to believe this painting was my mother, because that was all I had left of her. I used to hold that painting in my lap, peer at her face from one side to the other, but her face always looked in another direction, never at me. She showed no thoughts. I could not tell what she was thinking before or after her painting was made. I could not ask her all the questions I had before she left. Why she talked so angrily to my father, yet kept a big smile on her face. Why she talked to her mirror at night, as if her own face looking back belonged to someone else. Why she told me that she could no longer carry me, that I would have to learn to walk everywhere by myself. One day, when I was perhaps 10, this was after she had already been gone for several years, I was again looking at her painting. I saw a little spot of mold growing on her pale painted cheek. I took a soft cloth and dipped it in water, washed her face, but her cheek grew darker. I washed harder and harder, and soon I saw what I had done, rubbed half her face off completely. I cried, as if I killed her, as if I had killed her, and after that I could not look at that picture without feeling a terrible grief. So you see, I did not even have a painting anymore to call my mother. Over the years, I tried to remember her face, the words she said, the things we did together. I remember her 10,000 different ways. That is what Chinese people always say. 1,000, 10,000 this and 10,000 that. Always a big number, always an exaggeration. But I have been thinking about my mother for almost 70 years. So it must be 10,000 different times, and it must be that she has changed 10,000 different ways each time I record her. So maybe my memory of her is not right anymore. So sad. That is the saddest part when you lose someone you love. That person keeps changing, and later you wonder, is this the same person I lost? Maybe you lost more, maybe less. 10,000 different things that come from your memory or imagination, and you do not know which is which was true, which is false. But some things I know for certain, like my legs, how they got to be this way. Look how my legs are still thin, no muscles on the calves. My mother used to carry me everywhere, even when I was 6 years old, so spoiled. I refused to walk even 10 steps by myself, and this was not because I was sick or weak. I always wanted to see the world at her same height, her same way. So that's why I do not remember too much of those early days when we lived in the fancy Shanghai house. I did not come to know that house and the people who lived in it the way you would if you were a child walking around by yourself, discovering how one corner turns into another. Whenever I think about those early days, I remember only my mother's room, the one I shared with her, and the long staircase that took us down to an entryway with watery patterns on the floor. In my mind, I can still see that steep tunnel of stairs that went down one floor after another, and my mother holding me as she leaned over to look down to another level, where other relatives lived. I think my father's other wives lived on the floor below. Although this is only my guess now, my mother was telling me to be very quiet, not to laugh or ask questions. I was holding my breath, trying to obey, although I wanted to cry out, to tell her I was scared looking at the staircase falling beneath us. And then we heard servants' voices, and she leaned back. We both breathed deeply at the same time, and I held onto her tight, so glad we both did not fall down. Whenever I think about that staircase, I remember the room, and then I remember something else, more and more, until it becomes the time just before she left. Or maybe it is all my memories and imagination of her, now gathered into one day. Crazy, man. Someone's lost their moms at a very young age and never got a chance to meet them again. That made me so grateful that I lived since I was born with my mom, and she's still healthy. Yeah. Alright, I'm going upstairs. I need to wash my hair and eat some breakfast. Today my priority is editing. I need to make good progress today. Bye.